All right, Rob, let's get to the NFL. And look, it's not the NBA trade deadline, but still, today was the trade deadline in the NFL. And, it's a chance, Rob, for some of these teams that think they have a shot to make some changes. And we saw some of the movement was earlier, within the last week or two. The Niners go and get Christian McCaffrey, as we've mentioned. The Chiefs go and get Kadarius Toney from the Giants. So Baltimore gets Roquan Smith from Chicago. So there were moves made within the last few days, few weeks. And today, the Green Bay Packers, Rob, who are struggling, right? 3-4, 3-5. They've lost 4 straight games. And their biggest weakness, they got issues all over, but their biggest weakness is at the receiver position. And Rob, they do nothing. Now, you can't say nobody was available. Chase Claypool, who's a nice receiver. Rob, Chicago goes and gets him. And they're really, they're 3-5, I believe. So they still mathematically in the hunt. But Rob, I think that's a move for the future where they want him to, be a good receiver for Justin Fields.
Right. Which makes sense. You got to get people weapons. And this receiving core has been disappointing for the Packers and Aaron Rodgers. They have a couple of moments, Chris, but mostly disappointing. I would give it like a...
Yeah, Dobbs looked pretty. He made some decent catches Monday night.
Maybe I'm not going to say like that. Nothing's happened, but not enough and not enough consistency. But again, we just talked with Ephraim Salam, if you're just joining us, and I do believe their biggest issue there, Chris, and we talked about a couple things. They never drafted a skilled player for Aaron Rodgers his entire career there in the first round,
right?
Which is crazy. I mean, just crazy.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. They don't go out and make moves. They're run by a board. They don't have an owner. It's the weirdest situation in sport.
Now, have they been that way their entire existence?
I don't remember them having an owner. Now, I don't know the whole history of the Packers. I'm sure.
Rob,
because it was named after. Yeah, it was named after a meat packing company, right? I mean, that's where. So somebody must have owned them originally. I would assume rather than a board, Chris. But they've been under this board, and people buy shares even though they have no voting interest.
Right.
Just to say that they're, I own Packer stock. It's the weirdest thing.
Well, but it benefits them financially?
Yeah. People buy stock all the time.
That's good, though.
But they have no voting.
That's all right. You buy some stock in the pay. Look at how much these teams appreciate. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. I don't want to get you off topic.
No.
But I'd buy that stock.
Yeah, I'm just saying I think that is a big problem is there doesn't seem to be anybody making those decisions, and I think that's where an owner could have stepped in and said, what are we doing? Like you just said, and Ephraim, hey, to the general manager, get me a wide receiver.
Yep.
Get me a wide. If Jerry Jones, I hate to use him because it hasn't worked out, but Jerry Jones or one of these guys would walk in, Chris, and say, get me a wide receiver. I don't care.
Right.
Get
Rob,
me one.
We were just talking about the Nets, and look, maybe it was Sean Mark's decision. I'm not so sure because remember, he was on the firing line, at least as far as Kevin Durant was concerned as well. This may have been their owner, Joe Tsai, saying, look, this is ridiculous. Like, Tsai wants to win, Rob. And he may have been the one to pull the trigger on Nash, for all we know.
Chris, it was surprising that it wasn't the night before when the night that they lost to the Pacers, right? The other night, Saturday night.
Especially when they win a game
right
last night, and then they're playing tonight. So you could have easily been like, let's see what he does tonight. You
right.
know what I mean?
And they got 2 in a row. But no, it was like, okay, it's time. I don't care what. And you know what? Maybe they looked at the schedule and said, there's a couple cupcakes coming up, and if he wins those, then we'll be stuck with him all year. Like, for real.
Nah, that's a good call. I'm with you. And Rob, I used to say this a lot about Rodgers. I started focusing on some of what he hasn't done in these playoff games, which I feel is legitimate. But I have also felt like they were content, Rob, with being good. And to be honest, pretty much great, right? They didn't win another Super Bowl, but I think they were content with being in the hunt, relevant, a contender every year. And I think they're looking at it like, man, we've got basically 30 years of relevancy, 30 years of being one of the top franchises in the NFL. They only have 2 Super Bowls to show for it, Rob. But they're year in, year out, the Packers are one of those teams you talk about. And Rob, I wonder, because you know, when you and I were growing up, and we all heard the stories, of course, and knew about Vince Lombardi and Bart Starr and all those great guys.
Part of football lore, NFL lore. I mean,
but Rob, when we were growing up, the Packers were garbage.
Right.
They were garbage in the 70s for the most. The 70s, the 80s, on up into 93. Rob, from 1973 to 1993. They made the playoffs once. From 20 years. From 1968 to 1970 or 93, when Favre, of course, is there, they made the playoffs twice. You remember, when we were growing up, the Packers were an afterthought. And I don't know if they said, obviously it's different people, but if they were like, look, we don't want to go through that again. And so they protecting these picks.
And you remember this, though, that they did go out and get Reggie White in free agency. That was one of the big moves. You remember when they
helped them get that Super Bowl?
Super Bowl with Brett Favre, and they had Desmond Howard was there. Desmond Howard was the MVP of that Super Bowl. Chris, he ran two back. Am I right? I think he kicked
Did
off.
Did he run two back? He ran a kickoff back.
I thought he ran a kickoff back.
That was his shining moment because he was, he didn't have the career that everybody expected when he was coming out of Michigan.
Am I right or my memory's off? I thought he ran two back, a kickoff and a punt return.
He ran a 99-yard kickoff back. That was it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know he had something big.
But no, but yeah, I don't know, Rob. Are they like, we remember what those days were like. And they saved their picks. Like you said, they've built through the draft. But I don't know. They don't take the risks. Because, Rob, I'm like, every year you have Aaron Rodgers, particularly now when he's toward the end, and you're paying him all this money, Rob. Why are you paying him $50 million a year if you're not going for the Super Bowl every year? If you're not going all out every year that he's under contract? What are you doing? What are you doing?
Right. It doesn't make any sense to stand pat and not make moves to try. The clock is ticking. I always talk about LeBron's biological championship clock. It's the same with Aaron Rodgers.
Absolutely.
And then you got Jordan Love staring you in the face, Chris. He's standing over there. A total waste of a pick of somebody who could have helped you for the last 3 years. Right? Instead, he started one game in 3 years. Just a waste.
Yeah, I'm disappointed, right? Because I don't know. I don't know if they got it in them to make a run. I mean, they look bad. And the defense isn't what we expected. It's not horrible. Not what we expected. I'll give them out. This is what I'll say, Rob. What I think their formula should be: run the football, keep the opposing offense off the field, particularly really powerful offenses, and then let Rodgers make plays when you need him to. I think that should be their formula. Not that he can't, put you on his back anymore. He don't have the receivers to do it.
Right. You just can't. You can't. Who are you throwing to? I mean, you got to be throwing to somebody. So right now, and obviously they play the Lions this coming week, right, Chris? If they don't beat the Lions,
if they don't beat the Lions,
over.
Man. If they don't beat the Lions, come on. All right, 877-99 on Fox. Rob and I disappointed in the Packers for not going out and getting Aaron Rodgers another receiver. And I don't want to hear OBJ as much as, yeah, sure, it'd be nice if they got him. But, Rob, he's coming off injury. I don't know that he's going to be able to be a number one. I think he'd be great if he goes somewhere that's got a lot of talent. Like he did last year with the Rams. he could really supplement it, but I don't think he's going to be a number one guy.